everybody. This is day 1577 on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. That's borderland. El Paso, the U.S. Mexican border with Juarez, Mexico. El Paso and Juarez, one of the most dangerous cities in the world. They are Siamese sister cities, right? They're connected, and just a border divides them. Um, so, of course, the river, but it's it's very shallow. I don't know what are they doing with the water. I don't know, because when I was little, there was much more water. But um, that's another story. So the Rio Grande. Um, So we are super busy. Last night, I cut it really short because just overwhelmed with what is coming in. So much evidence is coming in. We have piles and piles of evidence, piles of it, right? That behind the scenes, thanks to my my wonderful husband, just filing it and documenting it and keeping track of it all and dating it and making sure that all of our certified mail gets received and it's all documented and all everything. I mean, because we have absolutely filed hundreds and hundreds. I would say even right now it's thousands, uh, in the thousand. Absolutely, so many. Maybe it's 2,000. Maybe I can say maybe I can say thousands. Maybe I can say thousands because it's so many. And oh, sorry, I just turned on my Facebook to see if I'm on. There I am. So I can see all comments now, and I can see everyone on. Happy Saturday. Oh, really? It's almost Sunday, right? Uh, and praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him above, praise Him below, right? Because we are absolutely getting more and more um, evidence, more and more open records are being answered, which means, a lot of homework. We have a lot of homework to do, but it's our pleasure because we want our son's remains and we want accountability and we want um, this weaponization of our system to end, and the weaponization of the military leadership against their own, because Richard was a code red. Okay, Richard was a code red. Now, I shouldn't say we received, Team Five Richard Halliday received confirmation today that a file was submitted to the Trump campaign. Trump, well, it's president-elect, right? President-elect Trump's administration, um, with the names of the 3 and 4-star generals, um, and those that uh, really are enemies to the United States of America, really, that really committed such egregious crimes against their own soldiers, right? And when you are committing um, crimes against your own soldiers, and there's so much news coming out, my head is spinning, and I want to make this very, very clear that Richard was not the only one. They absolutely committed so many crimes that hurt so many of our volunteer sons and daughters. And it is absolutely a national security threat. They breached security. We know for a fact that Fort Bliss has breached security. When you have a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks being pimped out, when you have girls coming onto the base during the 2020 and 2021, and given um, by the DES, Thomas Kane, by the Director of Emergency Services, the passes to come on during a time when it's supposed to be shut down and closed down in order to have parties. And I'm sure they weren't standing 6 feet apart from each other. And I'm sure they did not. Everyone saw each other's lipstick. I'm sure that was exactly what was going on. That I wouldn't bet it was safe, let me tell you. But when that's going on, and then you have the reports that the Pentagon has failed its seventh audit. So in 16 years, they have not passed an audit, and you're talking about close, upwards of, I think it was $868 billion. We are, close to $37 trillion, if we're not there yet, in debt. Where is this money? We should be driving on gold roads with the most beautiful bridges, with unirails everywhere, and free transportation and free housing. And I mean, you're talking $37 trillion. People can't wrap their head around what that kind of money is and where that went to. Where did that go to? And you have the Pentagon not being able to manage their house and committing egregious crimes against our volunteer sons and daughters. So it is not, I mean, you have a whole host of evidence. You have groups and groups of veterans submitting these reports right now. And we received confirmation that a huge report was just submitted with the names of these, uh, individuals that were wearing our uniforms. See, they try to wear our uniforms. They wear our uniforms. They put on the stars, and those that put them in those uniforms and then promote them and put stars on them, like Sean Bernabe, who absolutely is a criminal of the United States, absolutely is a traitor of the United States, and of Donna Martin, and who is absolutely the IG of the Army, absolutely a total traitor of the United States. And how they were promoted, how they stayed in those uniforms, is also a crime, right? But they are absolutely criminal, and hurting so many, and also a national security threat, creating a huge national security threat. That since we are who we are in the United States, we can rally again. We can. But we have, a lot of work in front of us. And so with all of this evidence coming out, with the new evidence coming out constantly, and I posted up the letter that is public, it was public information, but, it has to be brought to our attention, of Yvonne Rosales, the duly elected district attorney. And I believe she still is the district attorney until January. And, they really got to her, y'all. They really, really got to her. And this letter proves it. They were absolutely harassing her and threatening her. She was pleading for help. They weaponized the system against her. And who are they? Joe Spencer, the defense attorney for the Walmart mass shooting case. Patrick Crucius, with a defense attorney like him, who needs an enemy? Absolutely, who needs an enemy? And of course, it was Justin Underwood with an ad litem and unlawful ad litem. There is no ad litems in a criminal case like that. They absolutely, Judge Medrano absolutely should be recused. She said it back then. Years ago, she said it back then. Absolutely. Why Bill Hicks doesn't do it? Well, because our open records confirm that he was part of this harassing and bullying and threatening, and they carried it out. They carried it out to remove and replace her, to submit this petition. And it was Bill Hicks that schemed with Justin Underwood, with Joe Spencer, and with Bob Moore of El Paso Matters to remove and replace a duly elected District Attorney, Yvonne Rosales. Um, and why? Because they had backroom deals, y'all. They had backroom deals, and what they say in the news and what they say on camera is quite the opposite, right? Because Joe Spencer is making these backroom deals right away because we have the audios of him talking about it, um, saying that he made these backroom deals to stop the Walmart case from advancing forward. They don't want it. They never wanted it to go to trial. They sure don't want the death penalty. They don't want the death penalty because anytime there is a conviction of a death penalty, then there's an automatic appeal, and that automatic appeals would then cause an investigation to comb through this whole case. And that's what they don't want. They want to hide this case. They want to hide this evidence because under all of it is Richard Halliday's truth. Richard Halliday's truth. And they absolutely orchestrated this Walmart mass shooting, and they used a sickly individual as a child, even a sickly individual with a severe mental health condition, autism, that failed kindergarten, that was put in special ed, that was even in special ed. He was put into a special area in the classroom, so says Joe Spencer, because he would just get so frustrated and he would start hitting himself. He absolutely has autism, and his ability to speak, and I'm talking about Patrick Crucius here, his ability to speak, what is so limited is such a concern. And that is why, you'll see in the letter by Yvonne Rosales that they were not allowing Patrick Crucius to come in on the hearings, on the pretrial hearings, and she was concerned with that. Um, you know, and the recordings that we have and the evidence that we have, uh, eh, I believe, yes, one individual, it was Curtis Cox. It was Curtis Cox was asking Joe Spencer in this audio about Patrick Crucius's verbal skills, because they were very concerned with his verbal skills, and that he was very delayed in getting verbal skills, any kind of verbal skills. That means his verbal skills are very limited. So, and the other evidence that's in there, that this absolutely confirms that no way, when he's in special ed and he's just trying to get through the day, and he is in special areas of the room, sitting in a chair, or maybe not in a chair, maybe, whatever. I've been in those rooms. So, sometimes they sit on the floor, or it's very difficult situations. Sometimes you have pillows, right? Because they're hitting themselves, right? And they're very frustrated. He has severe autism, and his neighbors, as Loretta Lynn Hewitt testified in court, said he was banging his head at 3 years old on the sidewalk outside. And, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy, Um, it is, they used him. They used him. They know that he absolutely cannot fathom, and that is Joe Spencer's words, fathom what had happened, and being an educator myself, in order to write this manifesto that they put out there on 8chan, um, and no one knew who he was. When you go to 8chan, when you see the old screenshots, um, the people are like, who the hell is this, right? They didn't even know who he was. So he was not like this white supremacist that was on there spewing stuff or whatever. Matter of fact, he doesn't really have the verbal skills, right? And he does not, um, and this is according to Joe Spencer, okay? This is not according to me. This is according to Joe Spencer's in these audio recordings that we have. And it's so sad because no way with these limited skills and this mental health condition, the severe autism, could Patrick Crusius understand the historical background that was used in the manifesto. Someone else wrote that manifesto, in my opinion. That is backed up with lots of evidence, and Joe Spencer's words. He said that Patrick Crusius says, I'm not into racism. I'm not a racist. And that he is believes he's not a white supremacist. And he, even with the vile and vulgar introduction that Joe Spencer so unprofessionally introduced himself to Patrick Crusius with, I have a brown backside, I have a brown ASS. Do you have a problem with it? My name is Spencer, but it might be Spencer, but I'm Hispanic. What in the world? What in the world is that when you're talking about a case as big as a Walmart mass shooting case? You're walking into history. You have a defendant that's facing the death penalty. What in the world? What is this? He's so vile and vulgar. This is a defense attorney with a defense attorney like this who is threatening the district attorney, right? I mean, he has so much bias against Patrick Crusius. Okay. So he's not defending a Patrick Crusius like a defense lawyer should, right? He's not defending Patrick Crusius like he should. He should have absolutely said, hey, that interrogation needs to be dismissed. That confession that needs to be dismissed because my client has a severe mental health condition. He is autistic. He has it. Look at this is the history. This is the proof. His neighbors, they tried to even stop. When you read the articles, they tried to stop the evidence of the neighbors saying that he's known to be very, very sickly. He's out in the neighborhood at 3 years old, banging his head on the sidewalk. Can you imagine the horror when you're a neighbor? You're like, oh, don't do that. You have to put helmets on. Look, this, and he's in special ed and he failed kindergarten. Those aren't my words. Those are Joe Spencer's words. Okay. And he had no clue. Then we have, and I don't know if this evidence is hard. Okay. I am just saying what is being reported. And we know for sure, hard evidence, that Patrick Crusius surrendered himself to a Hispanic law enforcement officer. We know that. We saw it. We have video. that he was clean, his shoes were clean, everything was clean, he was all nice. He had no rage in him, he had no sweat from the rage that he had minutes before, he had none of that. Um, you know, no, but we're hearing that that was his second time he surrendered, that he surrendered before then and they turned him away. So, this timeline, it's like, wait a minute, Patrick, go back. You're doing this wrong. You have to wait a few more minutes. I mean, it reeks of red flags going up like this is a movie set and that this is orchestrated, but there's real dead people. There's real people that have been killed. They orchestrate. This is so rotten all through and through. And they use this rotten orchestrated mass shooting to cover up the audits and the investigations, to deflect them, to divert attention, to divert manpower, to divert the law enforcement, to divert the media from the investigations and the audits of the criminal misconduct that was going on Fort Bliss that Richard had reported. There were IG all over the barracks because of Halliday, right? He's in communication with Washington, D.C. He's in communication with FBI Houston, which is the child trafficking. He's in communication with the CID. He's in communication with Child Protective Services. He's calling 911 multiple times, right? And so here he is telling us it's so bad. It is so bad. It is so bad. And he comes and visits us, right? And there's nothing like a loving family. And I think he was empowered. I think that foundation. And he reported. And, the thing about Richard is that he wanted to be CID. He wanted to be a criminal investigator. He watched and read all the books, right? Sherlock Holmes to White Collar to Psych to, and I listed them off and put them up. We brainstormed all the shows. Every show that Richard watched was a criminal investigator, right? Columbo, all of them, right? So he documented. He knew more about criminal investigating than I did. Absolutely. And that's what he wanted to be. That's what he loved. And he loved justice, and he loved figuring out who the criminals were. And he figured it out, and he reported it. And now, it is like after, okay, so we are not, and I am not unreasonable. I'm not unreasonable. I'm not wearing any kind of tinfoil hat. This is all documented. This is all filed. This is supported with evidence upon evidence upon evidence, be it hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, irregularities. 4 years, and corroborating hard evidence, corroborating circumstantial evidence, corroborating irregularities, corroborating facts, the fact. And, so I'm not being unreasonable at all. I'm being absolutely truthful. Richard was a code red. So if you have what's going on right now, witness upon witness upon witness, filing upon filing upon filing, complaints of the military leadership abusing their power and weaponizing the tools that we have granted to them, that we have entrusted to them against our volunteer sons and daughters that we have entrusted to them to become defenders of the Constitution, right? That's That's their oath. Defenders of the Constitution. So in esprit de corps, in the Medal of Honor ethos, right? In the creeds, that is the spirit of which they are supposed to work, where they are supposed to train, where they are supposed to lead and mentor. And yet, there is complaint after complaint after complaint. And these are complaints that have caused the death of our volunteer sons and daughters. That's what's going on right now. So it's not me being unreasonable, having no proof. This, and of course, Fort Bliss, the hub of child trafficking, the hub of criminal trafficking, the drug, everything, because El Paso is a sister city of Juarez. It's right there on the border. And we have connected that the Mexican cartel have compromised military leadership at Fort Bliss. Absolutely. And not only that, in the civilian law enforcement sector. And so this is all backed by hard evidence. Richard was a code red. And those are not my words either. Those are Leilani Hart's words. That is the mother, the confirmed convicted criminal, the mother of Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, that was raised in a family of incest, child porn, threats with weapons, bought illegally, child abuse going back generations, so many bad things, y'all. So many bad things. Okay? And then we find out Leilani Hart speaks Chinese. She speaks Chinese. And she's saying she was reported for tampering with Richard's file at the CID office through her relative. And of course, she was giving him sexual favors. Tavita Nusa, the CID agent, right there on Fort Bliss. And we know that Marlon Soto, the CID agent, was dirty. We know. I talked to him, oh my gosh, for hours. For hours. We know he was dirty. He didn't refer when he was supposed to the internal affairs, everything going on with Tavita Nusa and Leilani Hart and the tampering of Richard's file there. We know that Richard's file has been tampered with the CID. We know that it's been sanitized. We know the dirtiness of Nieto, of Jesus Eddie Nieto and his wife that works in the intelligence there on Fort Bliss. And we know the connection with the Harts and Nadal Baim with, the father-in-law of Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, which is Richard's command. We know these connections. And so Code Red. And we know the connections with Leilani Hart, the Hart family, with, of course, Major General Clem Coward. And we know his connections too. And Michael Garrett's. And Michael Garrett, the 4-star general. So this is with Arizona, with, just up to no good violations and crimes against our country that have put our country in danger, have breached our security, national security threat. Anytime you have breached security, that's a national security threat. And now you have the Pentagon can't even manage the house of, you think $890 billion or something like that. 868 billion. I mean, it's $1 trillion, right? They can't account for the $868 billion. They can't account for 868 billion. Where did that go? It's like they can't account for 325,000 children on Fort Bliss, right? They can't account for and that is Veronica Escobar, right? This is all under her watch there. Veronica Escobar is a total criminal. I can't believe anyone would mark her off unless you're part of this criminal network. I can see that. Or, she just puts a spell on people like, oh, I'm really kind. I'm really kind. But no, she is totally, she is, she signs off on this criminal activity. And now we know she signs off on it. Does she approve the payments for these individuals that were posing as judges in the El Paso criminal law uh, magistrate court, right? And they're pretending to be judges and they've been appointed. They've been appointed and they can't be appointed since 2015. They can't be appointed. That is a violation of the Texas Constitution. And Veronica Escobar knows that. She's a representative. She's a representative in our government. She's high. She's high up. She knows what the Constitution says. She knows what the Texas Constitution says. And yet she is approving the salaries of these imposters that are denying the election rights of the very people she is supposed to be serving. She's absolutely a criminal. And so, yeah, it's been a real crazy day. We're going through lots of records that were sent to us through open records. Especially like Penny Hamilton. She was one of those imposters that was really up to no good, right? She's the one that magistrated Patrick Crucius. And this is something that everyone has to understand, that I've learned through all of this, and I probably should have known a long time ago, is that these judges, the judges that sit on powerful courts like this one, okay, this is 90% of the criminal cases, more than 90% of the criminal cases that are going on in El Paso County. And they absolutely determine the investigations. They determine every investigations, how they go, if they go forward or if they are stalled. Why? Because they are the ones that issue the subpoenas and the warrants. And, they absolutely can say, oh, no, don't look here. No, I'm not going to give you a warrant there. I'm not going to give you a subpoena here and there. I don't know if I'm not going to make this case go forward. They absolutely determine the investigations of criminal cases in the county of El Paso. It's very, very important. So if you have a lot of criminal trafficking, you want to really have control of the judges, right? And so from 2015 onward, they are absolutely illegal. They're criminal, and they're up to no good. They are absolutely up to no good. And do not tell me that Penny Hamilton cannot recognize somebody that has a mental health condition. That Patrick Crucius can come through there and be involved in such a huge case like the Walmart mass shooting case. Huge case. And she doesn't take the time to know what his mental health is. And the same thing with Joe Spencer, right? He's not supposed to just march in there and with vile, vulgar attitude introduce himself. He is supposed to go in there and assess what he has to deal with, right? in a respectful way because he's walking into history. The Walmart mass shooting case is not uh, it's not an easily forgotten case. And so, when I say that Richard's case is bigger, when I say Richard's case is probably I think it's the biggest case in United States history. Maybe JFK is bigger, but the assassination of JFK, maybe that's bigger, but I think Richard's case is absolutely huge. Huge. And I'm not saying that because 4 years doing this and all the evidence and that and knowing how huge this is because it's international and it goes into Germany, it goes, of course, into Mexico, of course, Poland, of course, the United States. It's national security, huge, huge, and election tampering and election, political attacks and weaponization and murder, code red murder, um, uh, uh, tampering with documents, government documents, and attacking whistleblower witnesses, and on and on and on and on. And a Gold Star family attacking our family. Just one illegal thing after the other. It's huge. It really is. Because it involves the illegal magistrate court. And I don't want to say the court is illegal. It's these imposters that are criminals that have been appointed by the Council of Judges that are criminal. They are criminal and have been approved by Judge Samaniago right now. He's he it, it's bad. It is so bad. And of course, Veronica Escobar, because she was a county judge also that approved the payment for these criminals. And then you have the Joe Spencers with that gets Justin Underwood together and Bill Hicks together, ringleads this into messing with the duly elected district attorney, strong arming her, harassing her, and carrying out the threats. And then, lying to the federal court, absolutely lying to the federal court. And then, going into the state court and absolutely derelict in duty in his defense job of Patrick Crucius that is paid for by state and federal funds, taxpayers' money, right? And there's other things too, y'all. It's so big because it goes into the Walmart mass shooting victims funds. So, it's lies, and then, has the media, fabricate these lies, these narratives, and the media absolutely knows that they're lies because we have filed with them all of this information. And I'm getting to the point. My point is Richard's case the biggest case in US history or possibly the biggest case in US history? And, they're lying and they got the media that we've submitted to the media and we've become part of the SB4 case. And we've absolutely warned everybody that Bill Hicks did not sign the anti-bribe line from the statement of officer and is a usurper because he's supposed to do that before he takes the oath of office. So now his oath of office is void. He's a usurper. He's not even a real district attorney. He has no authority. And yet, they're just not saying it. They're just allowing this illegal activity. Veronica Escobar, one of them. So many. We have written so many. Oh my gosh, hundreds. And they know. They all know. And yet, why do I say that Richard's case is the biggest in U.S. history because we are part of taking, unexposing a whole court, exposing the usurpation of a district attorney's office, the exposing that the chief medical examiner is illegal, exposing all of this fraud, the Mexican cartel compromised with the leadership on Fort Bliss, exposing on and on and on. And yet they refuse to say Richard Halliday's name. They refuse to say his name. That's how I know that this is possibly the biggest case in U.S. history. With all of that, they refuse to say our beautiful son, our hero son, his name, Richard Halliday. And so we're counting on you to help us to say his name, to pass around this info, to attempt maybe one part of this case, because I know it gets a little convoluted, to understand a piece of it, a part of it, how Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, with her family member Danae Katzen, who could forget the credit card girl, who could forget the wallet girl, right? The credit card girl, the Jane Doe that we protected for so long. We protected her for so long. And here she is, family member of Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, targeting Richard, targeting our family, absolutely part of this criminal group. And what they've done is is so vile and vulgar. And yeah, just understanding that part, or whatever part of this, and passing it along to say Richard Halliday. And we have, the songs. We've been, a little bit tacked with reporting on TikTok and things like this. Just real careful right now. But if we have, it's kind of like what Trump showed us. If we all are saying it, if we're all saying make America great again, if we're all saying Trump 2024, if we're all saying it, right? If there's enough, it's too big to rig. If we're all saying justice for Richard Halliday, if we're all saying give back Richard's remains with dignity to his family, if we're all saying let's hold these criminals accountable for the Code Red murder on our beautiful military base that has become a horror under the failed leadership that has now been reported. Praise God. Hopefully, they will be fired immediately. I'm counting the days. And after they're fired, that they can be court-martialed. I'm just counting the days, and I want to be there. And the crimes that they have committed are worthy of the death penalty. And if you have been keeping up with my live streams, you will have seen the evolution from like, oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah, okay, possibly. Oh, it needs to be on the table. No, these crimes are so egregious, are so deadly. They are worthy of the death penalty. And I hope I see that day. I hope I see that day. For the safety of our volunteer sons and daughters. Because I just, it's like I love to grow tomatoes, right? This year I had a real beautiful crop, a late crop of Roma tomatoes. And sometimes they get a little black spot, and you're like, okay, the rain hit them. I try to keep them covered. Anyway, and you can cut off a little piece, and you can save the tomato, and you can make beautiful sauces and things like this, right? But sometimes they get so rotten, the only thing you can do is throw them away. Throw them away. And, I can't really do it here, but in Ireland, where we lived in the Midlands and way out, it wasn't way out in the country, but, it's the Midlands are country, right? The Midlands of Ireland are country. And I could have my burn pit, and I could throw them in the fire. I could throw them in the fire and be rid of them. So there comes a time when the crimes are so egregious that the death penalty is absolutely appropriate. And in this case, that's exactly my opinion. All right, everyone. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on today, and a little bit really amazing day today with all the information, and I just appreciate everyone's patience in this, because it takes patience. And I was explaining it to my mother. I was saying, it's like a train. Many trains. We have many trains. And there is a train going to Washington, D.C., and there's a train going to Austin, and there's a train going, to different agencies and different authorities. And those trains start with a complaint, and then you have to add on another car, and then you have to add on another car. With every day, with every week, with every month that new evidence comes, you have to add to that original complaint. And it makes those trains very powerful, very, very powerful indeed. And, they're the trains of accountability. And I've been saying waves, but, with talking to my mom, I was like, these are like huge locomotives, and they have lots of cars, and they are going full speed. They are absolutely full of evidence, and accountability is coming. And so, sometimes those trains can just chug along a little slow, but you've got to do the work. And that is something that I've learned through all of this. When you're in this situation where you have evil people with badges, and with our beautiful badges, because our badges are beautiful, right? Our law is what's helping us. They're violators of the law, right? And I'm getting like a paralegal degree out of this. You have to figure out what laws that they have violated. You have to do your homework, and you have to then be able to write these complaints and write these open records, and wait for the responses, and then look through everything and put it all together. And it's like the fuel inside of these trains, right? And you just have to keep working, and it takes a long time. And in this case, and sadly, because we're doing the work that the system is meant to do, but because it's been usurped, because it's been hijacked, because you have stiffs, people that are so afraid to do anything, they do nothing. Because you have this, um, you know, y- you just have to keep going. You just have to keep going. And God has this perfect timing, and the timing is looking very, very good now. So, but however long it takes, and I think we're just getting started, because just think when all of this, when they finally can say Richard's name, um, what's going to happen? It's going to be a huge look. You got the whole courthouse in El Paso shaking. It is shaking like a huge earthquake right now. You have people submitting um, law. What do you call it? Those cases. Oh, it's late. But yeah, they are absolutely filing. So, it's just a matter of time. So keep praying, and thank you so much, and God bless you. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.